So you get recruited to this Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, 07, 08. I think 07 is when it started. I think you get recruited in 08.
It was actually early part of 09.
Okay. So
I came to the Pentagon in 08, late 08, and it was really right after that on the tail end.
So you came to Pentagon and then they recruited you and assigned you to this, they give you this assignment after recruiting you from the Pentagon. That's kind of how they met you.
Yeah, there was a vetting
the
process.
Nomination and the vetting process.
Yeah, so I don't know what their selection criteria was. I've always thought it was because early on in my career, I did a lot of advanced aerospace protection, technology protection. I recently learned that was not the reason why. They just wanted a hardcore counterintelligence background and security background to make sure that the bad guys, the Russians.
Which strength do you want more, right? You need somebody that's going to be investigating, or instead of just a level of curiosity. But okay, let's stay on this. So now you're in there. Okay, you're in. You're going through it. At first, are you the guy that's always, I heard you say you're not a Star Wars guy, you're not a Star Trek guy, you weren't that guy, you weren't the guy that was a person that thought aliens and all these guys existed. But when you're going in, when was the first moment where you said, oh shit, things just got real?
Yeah, so it was a conversation with the director of OSAP, Dr. James Lukatsky, this rocket scientist. And I remember at the end of the conversation we had, I still didn't tell him what the program was about, and he says, so let me ask you something. Okay, he said, what do you think about UFOs? And I waited for a second, I thought, I said, I don't. I answered him truthfully, I don't think about them. And he's like, well, what do you mean, you don't believe in them? And I said, well, you didn't ask me that. You asked me, what do I think about them? And I don't think about them because I really don't have the luxury to think about them. I'm too busy doing, my daily job and paying the mortgage and whatnot. And he said, well, that's fair, but, let me give you a little piece of advice here. Don't let your analytic bias get the best of you, because what you're going to learn may challenge any preconceived notions or narratives that you have. And that was my first. I mean, at that moment, I wasn't sure if he was trying to maybe test me to see if I was maybe psychologically unstable. I didn't really respond to it, but that was probably my first real introduction that, hey, there's something going on here that they're taking very serious.
How much longer after you got hired did you have that conversation with the doc?
Well, they threw me into the deep end of the pool. So it was very quickly I realized that what he was saying was absolutely legit. Now, people have always asked me, just like you did, what was it like when you first realized what was actually going on? There's two ways I've noticed people absorbing this information, in my experience, just being part of the program. Some have this revelatory aha moment, this epiphany. Oh my gosh, you mean they're real? Where others, it's more of a slow and steady, gradual realization and acceptance. For me, I was probably the latter category. It got to the point where it was obvious this wasn't our technology, and we were pretty darn sure this wasn't adversarial technology. And at that point, you're forced to reconcile, any narrative you may have had before. The information was very, very compelling. And by the way, it wasn't just me; it was our colleagues as well. And some of these folks are what I would consider intelligence community greats, the old graybeards. We had people, for example, like Dr. Kit Green. We had people like Hal Puthoff. Dr. Hal Puthoff was the godfather, if you will, of the CIA's remote viewing program, psychic espionage. That was his program. Dr. Kit Green was in charge of the Weird Desk at the CIA. All these individuals, these legends in the IC, were actually part of OSAP and ATIP. It was just, like I said, this incredible group of people. I often joke, but not really, that when I entered the room, I think the IQ probably dropped about 20 points. These folks were really, really, really intelligent. Some of the best astrophysicists that we had in the government were working this topic as well. And for me, it was, we had a dinner at the time early on with a four-star general in Brazil named General Uchoa. And he came to Washington, D.C. and provided some very, very compelling information about a Brazilian government investigation into an incident in a region of Brazil called Colares, where he
saw this.
Yeah. And so very, very interesting. It was an official investigation by the Brazilian government.
And what conclusion did they come up with?
Well, the things were not man-made. And they had the ability and capability to harm people if they wanted to. and some of their own people, even in the Brazilian military, were injured.
For the last 4 years, every time we do podcasts, I have to ask Rob or somebody, hey, can you pull up this news? Can you pull up that? Which way do these guys lean? Can you go back to the timeline of... Eventually, after asking so many questions, I said, why don't we design the website that we want aggregated? We don't write the articles. We feed all of it in using AI. So 8 months ago, I hired 15 machine learning engineers. They put together our news site called vtnews.ai. What this allows you to do when you go to it, if you go to that story right there that says Trump proposes overtime pay, click on it. It'll tell you how many sources are reporting on this from the left. If you go to the right, Rob, it says left sources, click on it. Those are all the left sources. If I want to go to right sources, those are the two. If I want to go to center, I go there. Now, if I want to go all the way to the top and I want to find out a lopsided story, a story that only one side is reporting on, either the left or the right. So if you notice the first one, will say Zelensky announces release of 49 Ukrainians from Russia. Notice more people on the left are reporting on that than the right. If I go to the middle one, same thing. If I go to the right one, same thing. You can see what stories are lopsided. And if I pick one of the stories, pick the first story, click on a Trump one, proposes overtime tax cuts. To the right on the AI, I can ask any question I want, but click on the first question that has it. It says, what is the political context and potential motivation behind the Trump's new tax cut proposal? Click on the question mark. It explains exactly what the motives are. So for you to use, whether you're doing a podcast, you're in the middle of a podcast, or you just want to know it for yourself, you're busy like myself. And last but not least, this is all AI doing this, so machine learning engineers. Go all the way to the top. I can go to timelines, and see how far back a story goes. Pick the Israel-Palestinian conflict. If I want to go to that and go back and see why are those 2 days a big spike, I'll have Rob pull it over to go to those 2 days with a big spike, and I'll see exactly what happened on that day or the previous day, and many other features vtnews.ai has. So simply go to vtnews.ai. There's a freemium model, there's a premium, and then there's the insider. If you want to have unlimited access to the AI, click on the VTAI Insider. You can now become a member effectively today.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.